I think it's important to understand why I'm doing this in the first place. Like, why I'm doing primatology, why we have to conserve primates. So, primates are important for our ecosystem, because they do provide a lot of ecosystem functioning. They carry seed dispersal, and they maintain the forests, because they feed on leaves, they feed on the fruits, they feed on the seeds, right? Or they disperse seeds, right? So they maintain the structure of the forests. Okay, and that's why I think that's one important reason to conserve them, and also because we're so biologically related to them, closely related to them, physiologically, phylogenetically, very closely related. So we get a lot of insights about our own behavior, evolution, from them, right? So that's why I think that's why I do this, and I'm very passionate about this. And so now getting back to what exactly I'm doing, right? So at this present state, human disturbances, as your introduction was about, human anthropogenic disturbances, like because of growing human population, at present 7.8 billion.
Somewhere.
Yeah, and it's only increasing, right? It's only going to increase. And in a country like India, where now we have exceeded, we have surpassed China even, and so there's going to be a lot of human population. And there's also, India is a biodiverse nation, right? So many species, and we have three hotspots.
Yeah. Where are the hotspots?
Western Ghats, the Trans-Himalayan, and then the Northeast region.
Okay.
Right? So Western Ghats, that's where I'm going to be working in. It's a biodiverse region, right? But what we have to also think about is there are humans living in the forest fringes, right? Where a lot of wildlife exists, right? And wildlife require a lot of space to move about, to get resources, in fact, if you think about it, elephants, they travel more than 100 kilometers sometimes in a day or in a week.
Wow.
Just to get water, food, and it's a matrilineal system. Elephants are matrilineal. The grandmother is there. There is the mother, her calves. They're all traveling together.
Wow.
And they travel so many kilometers in a day. And in India, where we are also trying to develop. We're developing, right?
Correct.
And now I would get into a little bit of political.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, of course. And also, as you said, first of all, India's population is growing.
Yes.
And India is a very rich country in terms of biodiversity.
Yeah.
Another thing is, when you said politics, because of current geopolitical pressures,
yes.
India has a special position in the world where people in the Western countries are looking for manufacturing sectors in India.
Yeah.
So that requires a lot of space, a lot of empty space.
Right.
I think we're going to create more disturbances.
Yeah.
And I think this topic is going to be important more than ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a very tricky, it's a complex issue, So there are a lot of these people who live in these forest fringes. They depend on agriculture. Their source of income is through agriculture, right? And we can't blame them when they interact with wildlife, and wildlife lives are lost in both wildlife as well as human. So, but the media portrays it such that people there are to be blamed. But it's actually, if you look at it, it's from the government. In a very larger view, the policies, how it affects people, how it affects wildlife, right?
Correct.
It plays a huge role. So now I'm looking at how my work is going to look at specifically how. So it's a field called ethnoprimatology. Ethnoprimatology.
Okay, what is that?
Yes. So this is where the human and primate interface, that's the interface, how both of them interact with one another, and how both of them have an impact on one another.
Ooh.
Right? So now primates exist. And we humans, we have certain beliefs and views on primates, and this comes from where? From religious beliefs, right? Cultural values are, and that influences our perceptions
Correct.
and attitudes towards wildlife in general. And I'm looking at primates, right? And so it's very deep rooted. It's very interlaced with our cultural values.
Cultural, yeah.
our-
When we compare that to Western countries, we are doing like little bit better because, like yeah, as you said, like religion wise, like
Yeah.
we like in India, people worship wildlife, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
does that have anything to do with interaction?
Yes, actually, it has a lot to do with interactions.
Okay.
No, we'll not get to the details of it, but in the sense, now in Hinduism, right? In Hinduism, we believe that monkey is it's a form of God, right?
Yeah.
And that's how people feed them. In temples, people feed them, but that interaction, right? It has negative consequences. It can lead to negative consequences in the sense. They will feed them. They might have very good intentions, right? But then the monkeys learn, okay, now I need more food. And these human foods are of high calorific value for them because it's easy access, right? They don't have to go in search of food
Correct.
into the forest, go look for that fruit. No. They can just stand in front of the road or in temples and just stand there and people will feed them. And because of which competition increases within the group and then aggression increases. If aggression increases within the group, they can also direct it towards us, right? That's how things escalate. From there, it escalates, and then they bite. They will, tend to bite, and then people will throw stones. People will try to kill them. So this is how it escalates.
Very complex.
Very complex. Very complex. So it comes from a place of, you could say, good intentions, because of our beliefs, our cultural values, and religious beliefs, right? Not just with Hindu, even Buddhism, all different kinds of religious values, religious beliefs, cultural values impact our attitudes and perceptions towards wildlife. So I am trying to understand how all of that impacts the way we view them. So in certain regions in India, hunting still occurs, poaching still occurs, right? For meat, for consumption. And so there is also certain belief that if you consume the meat of this primate,
No, they poach the monkeys.
yes,
Oh,
they hunt them.
okay.
So even though Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 is it's been in place, and since then there has been a reduction in poaching, but it still persists. In
But I didn't
certain-
know they like poach and eat monkeys.
Yes, they do.
Oh,
They do.
okay.
Yeah. And there's also belief that if this meat can actually reduce infertility, and can act as a aphrodisiac.
Oh, okay.
So all
Eating
that
monkeys' balls would give fertility up.
probably, I don't know what. So that's the thing. This exists in certain part of the countries. So that is there. And then how do agricultural growing of paddy fields, growing of different agricultural crops, how is that affecting primate abundances, their distribution? And also humans are actively going into the forest to cut down non-timber forest products, not timber but non-timber, right? And these trees are of important food resources for these primates. So then it's going to be a problem, right? Because they depend on these forests. So I am trying to understand that interface, how humans are viewing primates. They consume them, and then how they are getting, how they are adjusting to this, how they are spatially distributing themselves. How are they adapting physiologically? What is their stress levels? So that is what I want to work with. I want to work on, try to understand their physiology, change in if there is a high rate of disease in them. So that's what I want to be looking at.
Which specific species of macaque?
No, so there are 3 different species in where I want to work in Karnataka, in Sirsi Honnavar region.
Okay.
And there all of these things exist. Like there's hunting,
Okay.
there's a lot of agricultural, plantations are it's happening, and there's also people are using the forest, right? And there's lion-tailed macaque, Hanuman langur, and bonnet macaques. 3 different species are there. So I'm not going to specifically look at a species yet.
Level. Okay.
I will see if I can identify how it affects all of them in general, and then maybe select a group of one species for extensive study. Yeah.
And there are different species of monkeys there.
Yeah.
So, and there is a competition for like resources, food, like that. Isn't there a quarrel between interspecies monkeys, like lion-tailed macaque fighting with the langurs? Or
right. So they occupy different niches.
Okay.
Within the so this is niche is an ecological term. Niche is basically the position, not just physical space, but the position the species occupies within the ecosystem.
Okay.
Right. So that includes interaction with the different species. In terms of it can be competition, predation, symbiotic relationship, and also interaction with abiotic components. So that is where the individual the species exists. Okay. So lion-tailed macaques, they live in slightly they occupy a different niche. They use the higher canopies of the forest. Hanuman langurs are in slightly different elevations.
Okay.
And bonnet macaques also, their bonnet macaques are almost spread everywhere. So there's no competition per se between them, because when they enter the region, certain part of the forest, the other species would probably leave, and they're not exactly feeding on the same species of plant. So so lion-tailed macaques are frugivores. They feed on fruits. Hanuman langurs are folivores. They feed on leaves. And bonnet macaques, they feed on almost everything.
Yeah, just like humans.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how there's not a lot of competition between them. Yeah.